Hello, you're watching Our Time. Natalia Sopit is here in the studio for you, and I'll tell you the main news at this hour right now. Power, water, and heating outages? These are the consequences of last night's attack on the Poltava region. The Russian Federation's army fired Kinjal missiles at Kremenchuk. Critical infrastructure was hit. Several energy sector enterprises were damaged, including in the Kremenchuk district. Because of the attack, there are disruptions in heating and water supply in some areas of the community. All relevant services are working to eliminate the consequences of the shelling. At this time, no reports of injuries or fatalities have been received. One person was killed as a result of the nighttime attack on the Chernihiv region. Russian drones struck Novhorod-Seversky. An abandoned building, a residential house, and an outbuilding caught fire. Rescuers have already extinguished all the fires. Explosions have been heard in Sumy since early morning. During the day, civilians were injured in the region as a result of Russian shelling. 2 people were wounded when a drone struck a car. Another person was injured in the Ethman community. Over the past day, the enemy carried out more than 50 strikes on various settlements in the region. The Russians attacked a village in Zaporizhzhia region with guided aerial bombs, CABs. This was reported by the head of the military administration, Ivan Fedorov. According to preliminary data, at least 3 strikes have been recorded. As a result of the attack, several private homes and important power lines were damaged. There were no casualties reported. Overnight, the Russian Federation's army used 246 aerial attack assets, UAVs, air-launched and ground-launched missiles. This was reported by the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to preliminary data from air defense, 179 targets were shot down or suppressed. Among them were 175 drones, 2 ballistic missiles, and 2 aeroballistic missiles. Over 1,600 attack drones, about 1,200 guided aerial bombs, and nearly 70 missiles of various types were launched by Russia at Ukraine just this week. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy commented on the attacks by the Russian army. According to him, the main targets of these strikes are Ukraine's infrastructure.
We continue to work with our partners so that, in response to these strikes, our defenses are strengthened. The priority is clear. More air defense systems and missiles. More support for our defenders. Every agreement must be implemented faster. Thank you to everyone who is working to support Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
When it comes to a peaceful resolution of the Russian-Ukrainian war, there are still 2 unresolved issues. These are the situation at the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant and control over the territories of Donetsk and Luhansk, as well as parts of the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions. This was stated by Keith Kellogg, the special representative of the U.S. President. According to him, if these 2 issues are resolved, then everything else will fall into place.
If you're in the military, you know that the last 10 meters are the hardest. And I think that right now we're in those last 10 meters before this war ends. President Trump did everything he could. He spoke with Putin, with Zelenskyy, and with everyone we needed to talk to. I think we're almost there. This is the work of the whole team. And the Ukrainians did a great job with the people they sent to the negotiations, along with Umarov. And we just need to, wait and see how things turn out. But we really are very close.
The key issues, decisions on which could guarantee an end to the bloodshed and eliminate the threat of a third Russian invasion, were discussed by Volodymyr Zelenskyy with Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The day before, there was a phone call following up on the meeting in the United States. The interlocutors also discussed the threat that the Russian Federation might not fulfill its promises, as has happened more than once in the past.
Ukraine is committed to working honestly with the American side going forward in order to truly bring peace. We agreed on the next steps and the formats of talks with America. I thank President Trump for such an intensive approach to the negotiations. We can't discuss everything over the phone, so it's necessary to work in detail with our teams on ideas and proposals. Our approach is that everything must work precisely. Every important detail matters for peace, security, and recovery. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
As early as Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will visit London. There, he plans to discuss the U.S. peace plan project with European leaders. This information was confirmed by French President Emmanuel Macron. He emphasized that in the UK capital, specifically in the city of London, he will meet with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy, German Chancellor Merz, and British Prime Minister Starmer.
Ukraine can count on our unwavering support. That is exactly the goal of the efforts we are making as part of the coalition of the willing. We will continue these efforts together with the Americans to provide Ukraine with security guarantees, without which a strong and lasting peace is impossible. I strongly condemn the massive strikes on Ukrainian territory last night, particularly against its energy and railway infrastructure. We must continue to put pressure on Russia to force it to choose peace. Emmanuel Macron, President of France, on social network X.
Meanwhile, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is sending a delegation to Moscow, according to the publication Telex. He stated that the mission will focus on preparing for the post-war peace and on the economic integration of Russia into the global system. Let me remind you, this is not the first visit by the Hungarian side to Moscow. Orban had already met with Putin on November 28th, discussing gas and oil supplies. The visits by the Hungarian Prime Minister did not have the support of European officials. The Swedish Navy is increasingly encountering Russian submarines in the Baltic Sea. This was stated by the country's naval forces, according to an official statement. For example, in the Great Belt Strait, Swedish military forces detected and tracked a Russian Kilo-class submarine. Recently, the Baltic Sea region has been facing an increase in threats, including drone activity, damage to underwater infrastructure, and a constant flow of Russia's shadow fleet.
When a ceasefire or end to hostilities is finally established in Ukraine, we can only estimate. But our assessment is that Russia will strengthen its capabilities in this region. Therefore, the Swedish Navy must constantly evolve and focus on the bigger picture. Mark Petrovich, head of operations at the Swedish Navy.
Partisans conducted reconnaissance of the Sevastopol Bay, an important military logistics hub for Russia's Black Sea Fleet. This was reported by the ATESH movement. According to their information, Russian forces have installed boom barriers in the bay and sunk barges to hinder maritime drones. Patrol boats of the aggressor country's Black Sea Fleet are also patrolling the area. The collected data has already been handed over to Ukraine's defense forces for analysis and operational use. The United States is studying the experience of using autonomous weapon systems in Ukraine for application in its own operations. This was reported by Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth during a speech at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Forum. According to him, autonomous platforms and artificial intelligence will define the nature of future military conflicts. The head of the Pentagon emphasized that the United States partner countries must increase their defense spending to maintain collective security. In addition, Washington is working with its allies to create a global defense system.
This will form a powerful collective defense shield with well-armed allies around the world who are ready to defend themselves and protect both their own and shared interests. Pete Hegseth, the head of the Pentagon, notably delivered a speech at the prestigious Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation Forum.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.